Hell on earth is how it's been described. The scenes in Sydney yesterday as explosions were heard and walls collapsed in a huge inner city building blaze. The fire broke out around 4 p.m. in a vacant 6-storey building near Sydney's Central train station. It's taken some 100 firefighters, but they have gained the upper hand in the huge blaze that saw a large section of wall crash down.
Chaos in Sydney's CBD. Explosions were heard across the city as walls crumbled to the ground. It brought the city to a standstill. Thousands watched on from the streets as a building burned, the ground shook, and it rained rubble when walls collapsed. Burning bricks crashing scared those at ground level, and searing heat from the fire could be felt more than a block away. The situation escalating quickly as calls to 000 poured in.
As those trucks were en route, they saw the large volumes of smoke and then made the call to upgrade the resourcing for the fire.
More than 30 fire trucks and 120 firefighters battling a large blaze that began in an abandoned multi-storey building in Surry Hills just after 4 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. The incident upgraded to a 10th alarm status, described by Fire and Rescue New South Wales as the most severe type of blaze.
But it's certainly a very significant fire, and what's of note was how quickly it developed.
Flames and smoke could be seen across Sydney, from across the Harbour Bridge on the North Shore to the west from Olympic Park. The fire briefly spreading to a nearby building as those in the surrounding area were forced to evacuate.
Fire and Rescue firefighters together with New South Wales Police had a very significant effort in the early stages to evacuate those surrounding buildings and get people out to safety. I'm pleased to report that there's been no indications of any injuries to any of the members of the public.
One firefighter escaping with a minor burn to his arm. Major road closures bringing parts of the city to a halt. Buses were diverted and the light rail service suspended, but trains at nearby Central Station were unaffected.
It was a busy time of the afternoon towards the end of the workday, and we do acknowledge the inconvenience and the disruption that's caused for the travelling public.
Firefighters gaining the upper hand, bringing the blaze under control by around 6 p.m.
The fire is now effectively contained, but it will be a substantial and very prolonged duration of firefighting to extinguish the fire completely.
Early reports indicate the blaze may have started on the 3rd level of the multi-storey building. However, authorities say it's too early to determine the cause of the fire.
This matter is still under investigation. It'll take some time. Obviously, once the fire brigade, the fire and rescue put out the fire and then they hand over the scene, we will work with their investigators and our crime scene to work out what actually occurred.
Christy Lloyd, Sky News.
And witnesses have described scenes of utter terror and panic after a heritage-listed building in Sydney erupted in fire. The abandoned building was an old hat factory that was due to be converted into a boutique hotel. Senior reporter Caroline Marcus filed this report from the scene.
The building was a former hat factory which made hats for women and children for 42 years before it was set to be converted into a 100-room boutique hotel in a project estimated to cost $40 million. That is, of course, before it was gutted by fire. Witnesses described hearing loud explosions and seeing smoke everywhere, some fearing there had been a terror attack. What did you hear or see?
So I was just in my flat, hear fire engines all the time, so didn't even think anything of it, and then smelled some smoke, saw this massive ash cloud, went to my rooftop and I could literally feel the flames from the building next door. Phoned my mum and was like, what do I do? And then she was like, leave the building now. Got outside, my road had already been blocked off and the police were like, you need to leave.
How were you feeling through all this?
When I was on the rooftop and I could feel the fire, I was literally like shaking so much because I didn't know what it was. Like, I didn't know if it was like an explosion or just a building on fire, and there was like embers falling and stuff. It felt a bit like out of a movie.
What did you see?
I saw half of the building come down, or half the wall come down. I was just the other side of Central, smelt the smoke, and then I came round, and that's when just on the other side of Central I saw everything.
And what was that like?
Pretty scary, because then I heard a car was on fire and I initially thought maybe it was a terrorist attack or something.
I was just working at my desk at around 4 o'clock-ish, and I heard all of these sirens. Usually a lot of sirens around here, but this was even more like intensified, and a helicopter overhead, so I sort of poked my head out the window and just saw a lot of flames coming out of a building.
And have you been told when you're going to be able to go home?
No time frames as yet, so I think it's just a waiting game for now.
There were hundreds of people on the streets earlier, but as the fire was contained, the crowds have really thinned out. Road closures do remain in place, though, with crews expected to be battling the blaze well into the morning.